Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of AdMail. This is Adam Bergman, founder and CEO of IRA Financial. I'm here to help you find the answers to the most frequently asked questions from my clients about self-directed retirement accounts. If you want to learn more, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on social media. Just search IRA Financial. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of AdMail. I'm Adam Bergman, tax attorney and founder of IRA Financial, and on today's podcast, we are going to tackle three superb questions from three superbly smart individuals. One will handle taking distributions from a checkbook control IRA LLC. The second will be making Roth contributions if you're a real estate investor. And the third is about making a real estate investment with your IRA and the ability to use that facility. Is it possible? We will find out. So buckle up, and without further ado, let's get going. First question is from Jose T. of Pomona, California. Jose wants to know, I have funds in my self-directed IRA LLC and want to take a distribution. Can I take the distribution straight from my IRA LLC bank account? Well, Jose, great question. Unfortunately, no. The way it's going to work is if you want to pull money out of your LLC, let's say you have $5,000 you want to take a distribution on, no problem. But you can't just pull it from the LLC. The funds need to go back from the LLC to the IRA custodian. Hopefully, it's IRA Financial. If you're a smart enough guy, you used us. I assume you are, which is good. Then IRA Financial, as the custodian, as the reporting agency to the IRS, will then send you the money, and as part of that will complete a 1099-R, which you'll get a copy, the IRS will get a copy, notifying them that you took a taxable distribution. So then they now have the ability to confirm that when you file your 1040 that you are reporting the taxable distribution on your tax return. So that's the way it works. If you pull it out through the LLC, we'd have to fix it. I mean, technically it could be deemed a prohibited transaction, but as long as you pay the tax on it, we can probably fix it, but don't do it that way. Send the money back to us, because then you'll fill out a distribution form, and then through the distribution form, we'll have all the necessary data to report the distribution to the IRS. If it's pre-tax, remember, Jose, if you're under 59.5, you pay tax 10% penalty, unless there's an exception like a hardship. If you're over 59.5, tax. Second question is from Calvin B. of Chicago, Illinois. Calvin wants to know, I am retired and do real estate passively. I don't take a W-2 and just generate rental income. Can I still make a Roth IRA contribution? So Roth IRA contributions, $6,500 or $7,500 if you're over 50. Like any IRA, you need income. So based off your question, Calvin, you are retired. You say you have income passively. So that could be good or bad. I don't know. So if you were essentially just retired and have like Social Security or disability, you generally cannot make IRA contributions. Now, you could piggyback off a spouse if you're married. Let's say your spouse worked and had income, then you could piggyback off your spouse and then add some of that income and use that as a contribution up to $6,500 or $7,500 if you're over 50. But let's say you're not married. What are your options? So you said you generate passive rental income. So if you file a Schedule E as an Edward, then you're not going to be able to use any of that income to make Roth IRA contributions. If you file a Schedule C as in Charlie, then it's not passive. You may think it's passive, but you're paying self-employment, Social Security tax on that net Schedule C amount. And the good news is you can then contribute that to an IRA, a Roth IRA, or even a solo 401k. So I would need to know more info. Are you a C or an E? If you are an S Corp or C Corp, are you taking a W-2? If you're not taking a W-2 on an S Corp or C Corp, then you don't have any income available for a Roth or a traditional contribution. And your only option would be basically piggybacking off a spouse. But if you're not married, then you really wouldn't be able to make any IRA or 401k contributions that year because you don't have a W-2. And if you're not a Schedule C and you don't have a 1099, you're not going to have any required earned income actually, to be allowed to make Roth or IRA contributions. So it's a great question, Calvin. I got a lot of questions in these circles. I wish I can give you a more concrete, elaborate answer, but I just don't have all the facts. For example, I don't know if you're married. I don't know if you file a C or an E, or you have a C or S and take a W-2. So without knowing that, I don't have all the answers for you, but hopefully I mapped out at least the pathway so you can determine based off my response whether you can avail yourself and make Roth IRA contributions this year. But essentially, you need earned income, whether it's 1099 from a spouse or 1099 yours, W-2, net Schedule C. You got to have some earned income. Third and final question of today's podcast is from YouTube. And this individual wants to know, I want to invest in a real estate venture that will have some cabins where I can do some hunting. I will own less than 5% of the project. Can I use the property personally for a few days a year? So this gets, definitely in the gray zone. If you own more than 50% of the project, the LC, I would say absolutely not, because clearly the entity is disqualified. You cannot personally benefit. Here, you're going to own a very small chunk of it. And I guess the question is, if you can show the IRS that you made this real estate investment to benefit your IRA, not benefit yourself, and you happen to use the cabin, even if you pay fair market value for that price, a couple days a year to go hunting, it would be difficult for the IRS to show some self-dealing and conflict of interest. Now, if you invested $200,000 and used the cabin for 3 days, 2 days, and paid fair value for the cabin, and you own less than 50%, I don't think you have an issue. But let's say you invested $2,000 and you're using the cabin 60 days a year. Now the IRS can say, hey, seems like the $2,000 investment was really a gateway so you can use the property. This seems like a self-dealing conflict of interest. Remember, you need to be able to show the IRS that your IRA made an investment exclusively 100% to benefit your IRA. So yeah, you may be able to use the cabin and pay just like everyone else can. But if you're using it 3, 4, 5 months a year and your investment amount doesn't seem to correspond to the amount of use, meaning if you invested $200K and use it 1 day versus investing $2K and use it 300 days, you want to again show your IRA is doing this not to benefit you personally, but to make a good investment and generate a lot of returns for the IRA. So obviously in a perfect world, you're not using the property at all, right? You own a house in Fort Myers and you never go there, and someone rents it 12 months a year. That's obviously the cleanest. In this case, you own a very small percentage, less than 50%. You may use it 1 or 2 days. Maybe you pay fair value for that cabin, just like you and me, or I can, or my neighbor can. So there's really no personal benefit, because anyone in the United States or anyone in the world, for that matter, could rent a cabin. Just because you own 5%, the 1 or 2 days you use it is not material or in any way a conflict based off the amount invested. So there is some gray there. Obviously, the less you use it, the better. The more you invest in relation to the use, the better. You need to be under, I'd say, the 50%. So the smaller, the better. But there is a risk, right? There's always a risk. The IRS says, hey, you did this to help yourself. The only reason you made the IRA investment is to use the cabin to go hunting. And then you say, no, I could actually just rent the cabin for like $200 a week and hunt. And so could anyone in the world. No, it has nothing to do. I invested because I think this is going to be an amazing investment for my IRA. I think you got some good facts. But if you invested $4,000 and you use the cabin 7 months a year, probably going to be more difficult to defend your position against the IRS. So that's why it's a lot of facts and circumstances, a lot of gray, and not as clean as renting out a home through Airbnb, or just more permanently, where you literally are never, ever, ever there, and a third party handles the day-to-day operations of that project. So that's it. I wish I could give you a little bit of a more concrete answer, but you just don't know. It's facts and circumstances. I wouldn't worry. It'd be very hard for the IRS to prove that you were there 1 or 2 days. But again, if you paid fair value for the property, just like the cabin, just like I can, and your ownership is so small that the $100 you pay is not going to obviously materially impact the performance of the asset, I really don't think it's going to be an issue. And I think the IRS would have a very tough time to argue, because the entity is technically not disqualified, because you're going to own less than 50% of it, and you're paying, there's no personal value because you're paying the same amount as everyone else. And obviously, the $100-200 you're paying is not going to impact the bottom line of that investment. So there you go. Thanks for all your support. Thanks for all the great questions. If you have questions, email them to us. info@IRA Financial. You can just say ask Adam or AdMail. Hit us up on social media, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Got a great YouTube channel, so you can send in comments. That's where I get a lot of the great comments. And keep them coming. Really enjoy the podcast. Hope you guys are. And hope everything is great. Thanks again for hanging out today. And see everyone next week. Ciao.